This one is for non-gamers only. All gamers, I want you to stop watching this. I think if you're a gamer, you can still get something out of this, but this video is primarily for non-gamers. Okay, this is primarily for people who want to get into video games. Who, if they played a few video games here and there on their mobile phone or whatever, but they haven't really um, become a gamer and gotten into the artistic side of video games, okay? So the game we have here is called Slay the Spire, okay? This game, learning this game will be very different than playing something like Halo, right? It's basically a card game. So we start right here, we play the game, and, we're talking to this whale, and we can do different things based on whatever happens, right? We can, transform a card. It doesn't really matter what's going on in this game right now. This is just the background, but this is an example of the fact that this game is a card game, right? Every video game is different. Learning this card game will not help you become better at Halo, but it will in some small, subtle ways. Like, for example, knowing how to navigate a video game menu like this, or knowing how to use a controller, right? All of these things, there are transmutable skills. But that's getting a little ahead of myself, okay? What I wanted to explain to you is how to get into video games, okay? And we got a couple rules, okay? So the first rule number one, right, is that in order to play a video game or get into video games, right, you need to pick the correct video game for you. The video game that you want to play. Now, if your friend is like, oh my God, dude, I love Apex Legends, dude, it's my favorite. It's my favorite video game. You have to play Apex Legends. Let's play it together, right? And you start playing it and you just hate it because you're getting destroyed the entire time. Well, you're not going to be a very good gamer at the end of it because you're not going to be passionate about playing the game, and you're not going to be having fun, and you're not going to learn as fast, okay? If you are motivated to become a master at the game that you're playing because it resonates with you, you will become better at the game. Now, this is very similar. A lot of my non-gamer friends out there, a lot of you are, let's be honest with my little stereotypes, right? You're into something, right? And chances are it's probably books, right? You're probably into books, right? If you're into books and you're not into video games, that's logical because those are very similar hobbies, actually, at the end of the day, right? Because they take a lot of time and a lot of practice and a lot of critical thinking, right? And you're being transported into a very immersive story. And I think if you like books, you have the potential to love video games. I really do think so, okay? And it's just like a book. Now, you may say, oh, I like books, right? But one thing that book talkers and book people know is that you have to pick the right book for the right person, and that there's a book for everyone. Does that make sense? There's a book for everyone out there. And just like there's a book for everyone out there, there's a video game for everyone out there. You may just be trying to force it on the wrong game, and that's why you haven't been able to break through, right? Because you're trying to force it on the wrong game. But that being said, tip number 2 is that you have to force it, okay? You do have to force it, okay? It's not going to be just like instantly clicking and then you're just getting into it. For certain easier games, for certain games with less depth that are going to be less satisfying to you, like, for example, iPad mobile games, like Farmville, or, certain microtransaction-y games that are designed to be incredibly easy and incredibly addicting and not at all fulfilling. If you're going to try and go down that route, which I recommend you do not if you want to get into the more artistic, fulfilling side of video games, then yeah, you're just going to be able to start playing and you're going to be able to be good at it right away because you just spend money to be good at it, real world money, and then suddenly you're good. Okay, does that make sense? Hold on just 1 second. So what I'm trying to say is you need to do what do beginners, what do you do for a beginner into books? Somebody who hasn't read a lot and they haven't honed that part of their brain where they can do books, right? Where they can read the English word on the page for hours. How do they hone that? Well, here's what they do. They read 10 pages every day, right? That's what my friend told me about reading books. And I was one of these people who, and I still am, and I'm trying to get over that, to where I can't force myself to sit down and read books because it's too hard for me. Does that make sense? And to do that, I'm forcing myself to read on my reading days 10 pages a day of whatever book I want, right? 10 pages a day. I have tons of new books, so tons of things to choose from, tons of things that are interesting to me, tons of things that have been in my backlog that I've been promising to read forever, okay? And so that's the thing, is that you just need to pick the right book and force yourself to commit to it, like learning an instrument or learning to read, right? Read 10 pages a day? Well, play video games for 30 minutes a day, okay? And then suddenly you'll be like, well, actually, I want to play for more than 30 minutes a day instead of forcing yourself to. Before, you didn't want to play for 30 minutes because you were just wandering around running into walls and you felt frustrated. But now you're starting to conquer the enemies in the game. You're starting to fight the Goombas or the Koopa Troopas, right? You're starting to kill the zombies, right? And now suddenly the game doesn't feel like a chore, it feels like a reward. You understand? So that's probably the most important point to transform your video games into something else. And then another thing I want you to do, another tip, right? This is number 3, just for those of you keeping track, is be careful about social video games when you're learning, right? The thing about it is that having someone there with you can be helpful, to have somebody telling you how to do something, right? But they can also be a hindrance for you, especially if they're really good gamers. I say that if you're learning, the best thing to do is to play by yourself, okay? And learn your own speed. Instead of somebody telling you, oh, do this, you're letting that person become your brain for you. You're like relying on that person to figure it out for you, and you're not learning for yourself, okay? So, and another thing is that the social pressure can also be an emotional pressure that makes you not want to play, right? Because it's like, I don't know what I'm doing or how to do this, and this person either isn't helping me or is trying to help me too much and it's causing me stress, and I'm blaming all the stress I'm having for, my inability to do this game and the things I don't know yet. I'm blaming that on the other person, and it can put a strain on your relationship. It really can, even with experienced gamers. Okay, wait to do the social gaming, unless of course you're playing multiplayer. If you're playing a single player game with somebody backseat gaming you, watch out for that, right? Be very cautious about that. Only do it if you're with your husband or your wife in the apartment. You know them, you trust them well, right? You've been hanging out with them, you've been watching them play forever, right? Or whatever, right? You want to have a very strong rapport if you're going to do it that way, okay? And trust me, I've made this mistake, so I'm speaking from experience, okay? I have suffocated new gamers. So, the last point is the practical side. How do I get into gaming? Where do I start? Okay? Well, where do you start? You can start. Okay, let's reframe this. This is your concern, right? I can't get into gaming because it's too fucking expensive. It's too expensive. And I have news for you, right? I just got into books. That shit is equally expensive. Okay? That shit is also very expensive. Now, there are books that are $20, $10 for manga, right? Whatever. But there are books that go up to $50, okay? And there are video games, they're admittedly more expensive. But there are also video games that you can play today, now, with what you have in your home, 100% for free. You don't need to spend a single dollar to start getting into video games. And it doesn't have to be um, predatory, capitalist, microtransaction-y games. Okay? It doesn't have to be those kinds of brain rot games. It can be fulfilling games. Okay? Think about it like this, right? If you're getting into books, you can't just randomly pick the first book you see on Amazon recommendations, right? You have to do some research about what you're getting into, right? Look at reviews, look at things like that, right? It's the same with video games. Video games don't have a very long history. They've only been around since like the 60s, right? With Pong. So really, you have plenty of knowledge on the internet to look up video games, right? If you want specific recommendations, let me just tell you, if you want a free video game, right? All you need is a phone or a laptop computer, okay? If you have a desktop, even better, right? Because you may think, oh, I have to buy this or that. Well, there's such a thing as emulators. It's something that you can set up on your phone. All right, it's going to be a little complicated to set up. Look up a tutorial online. Okay, this is not going to be an emulator tutorial. Maybe I'll do one of those someday. But look up a tutorial online on how to set up an emulator on your phone for Game Boy Advance. Okay, you can do it for DS, but that's going to be a little bit more complicated. Okay. Look up Game Boy Advance, right? And look up some good Game Boy Advance games. They're going to be small, 8-bit games, okay? Cute little graphics, little pixels on the screen, walking around as a little guy. And there's all kinds of great Game Boy games for you to play. You can play Pokemon, right? You can play Pokemon Fire Red. Okay, that's a great game for a new gamer, right? For old gamers, they're like, oh, no, you need to play Apex Legends, you need to play Battlefield 6, you need to play the coolest new game because their brains have been rotted by too many video games. Okay, they don't know what it's like to be new, right? So what you do is you just play an easy game, right? Just play an old Game Boy Advance game that looks fun to you, right? If it has to be whatever. I mean, you can look at the reviews from the time or reviews from the modern day, even. Like, they're still being reviewed by people. You can look up reviews of these old games and see what kind of game it is, how fun it is, right? You can play Harvest Moon, right? If you want to play Harvest Moon, you can go play Harvest Moon. What is Harvest Moon? It's a farming game, okay? But that's just it. If you don't want to play an old game for free on an emulator, there are very cheap video games that you can still play without anything. All you need is now you can't do it on your phone, but you just need a laptop computer, okay? Because there's plenty of games out there, and trust me when I say this, there's plenty of games out there that don't have beastly graphics requirements, okay? You can do it on any computer. It doesn't matter what kind of computer you have, even if you have a Mac, you can still do it. Okay, now think about this, right? What is one of the games you've probably had recommended to you before if you've ever talked to anyone about getting into video games? Everybody recommends this game for first-time gamers, and there's a reason why. Stardew Valley, okay? Why do people recommend Stardew Valley for first-time gamers? Well, because it has a little bit of everything. It has a little bit of fighting, a little bit of fishing, a little bit of farming, a little bit of relationship building, a little bit of story, a little bit of everything. Okay? But it's all in a way that is very intuitive and easy to learn. Okay? Now it throws a lot at you, but at the same time, there are very little consequences for failure. Okay? Does that make sense? If you fail, you just think about it this way. In real life, you have bills to pay, right? You have to pay rent, you have to pay, your electric bill, you have to pay for insurance, you have to pay for healthcare, right? In this world, right? All you ever do in life is buy and spend. There's no monthly fees. Okay? You just go around picking up. You can go around if you want in the game and pick up flowers on the ground, sell them to a store, and that's all you do, and you'll make money. Right? It's a very, very relaxing, very happy, very natural, very human, very enlightened game. Okay? Now you should definitely try it. Okay? You're a first time gamer. That's it. Okay? That's the whole entire rant. Okay? You can play indie games, you can play emulators. And then if you want, you can buy a console. You can buy a Switch, an old Switch. If you want to buy a Switch too, go ahead, right? If everybody's going to criticize you for that because they hate Switch 2 because they're gamers, don't listen to them, okay? I have problems with the Switch 2. I think it's a capitalist, greedy console that they were price gouging everyone, right? Now, if you want to save money, don't buy a Switch 2, okay? But if you're somehow, you just want to get into some games, you want them to be next generation games with on a next generation console, go ahead and just buy a next gen console. Buy a PS5, buy an Xbox, buy a Switch 2, buy a Switch 1, buy any of these consoles, right? And just play some games. If you have a friend that says like, "Oh man, I have an extra Xbox 360. I don't know what to do with it," right? An old console and some games. Just buy it from them. Right? Offer them $100 for it, right? And then you'll save a bunch of money. Offer them $50 for it, right? Go look up how much it is on Amazon, right? Or on eBay, and just buy it from your friend, right? There's a million ways you could go about getting into this hobby. It's a very social hobby. Us gamers seem like we're shut-ins, but we're actually very social, right? We talk about video games are a way for us to break out of our antisocial shell as nerds, right? Because we have entire worlds that we can share with each other. We have entire systems and entire mathematical complex systems and balance sheets and um, you know uh, storylines and choices and adventures and combat against each other, right? Like I've literally sparred in battles against some of my best friends, and that's a very deep, profound experience to have with another person. And I truly can't recommend getting over the hump of learning enough, because it will be worth it at the end of the day. You will find a portal into another world unlike anything you have ever seen. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? All right, thank you. I hope you're encouraged to get over the hump and to stick to it. Gaming is for everybody. Tabletop RPGs are for everybody. Books are for everybody. Art is for everybody. So remember that, guys. Bye.